Going. You're live, it says. Hey, everyone. Welcome. It's Gary's Guitar Talk.
It's a hot day.
It's
a
summertime.
Beautiful day for a dive into the stream.
Ooh,
I thought of that a while ago.
Dive into the live stream.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are here and don't know, we get together and talk about guitars.
I don't like it either.
You don't like that stool? Okay. Gary's going to swap his stool. I'm going to do the play-in. We talk about guitars, amps, guitar things, guitar repair, all things guitar. And we do it we try to do it once a week, although I was absent last week, I'm sorry to say. So what else should we say?
Back on the
chime
plank.
in, yeah. For if you're, just chime in, let us know who you are, where you are, say hi, and that sort of thing. And what else do we have to add for now?
Do the ring bell and do the thing.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff there too. Yeah.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
Sometimes way too often.
Yeah. You gotta push your. What is it? You got to push your YouTube presence and that kind of thing,
right.
And kind of get, we don't do that so well here. We just get on and chit chat. We do all right though. YouTube is relatively popular. Some other time, not now. Go to the YouTube channel and check out all the archives of live shows. You can check out all my talks about stuff. I just do a 5 to 10 minute.
How many videos are out there now?
There might be 70. There's 65 lives. There's about 70 of the other videos.
What about the walkthroughs and?
Oh, those things go on Instagram.
Oh, that's
just
Instagram.
Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram and Facebook, we do a store walkthrough, kind of once a week, just showing you just virtual guitar shopping. It started during the pandemic when you literally couldn't go to a guitar store.
Right.
So this is the stuff we got. Please buy something.
Guitar store to you.
So what else? So like I said, chime in, say hi, and oops, my little thing here is malfunctioning a little bit. My tablet. I have a tablet over here that I read your questions and comments on. So sometimes I have to do a little restart there. No, and I got it turned way down low because it's about to run out of batteries, and that's going to be fun when that happens too.
Oh, get your questions in early.
Yeah. All right. So what are we going to talk about? So usually while we're waiting for people in the audience to chime in and give some so in the comments, write any questions you have. Participate in the conversation by just saying stuff about what we're talking about. Say stuff about anything, really. Just keep the conversation going. Like I said, this is the least prepared I've been for a live stream ever. I usually have a little sticky note with 3 things on it. No sticky notes, nothing.
Okay.
I'm flying blind over here, folks. So
I got totally off the wall, sort of related idea.
Okay, yeah, let's hear that.
Karen and I have been watching a show called For All Mankind.
Mm-hmm.
The premise is that the Soviets landed on the moon first and how history would be different. And one of the things that didn't happen, not related to the Soviets landing on the moon first, was John Lennon didn't get shot.
Okay, because history changes and that way.
Okay, so if John Lennon was still alive, and he had been alive since 1981 or 2, whenever that was, you could make a pretty easy case that he might have been a force in the world.
Yeah.
He was a strong personality with the ability to influence people.
Mm-hmm.
How would the world be different if John Lennon didn't get shot?
Wow. That is pretty far out.
It is. I kind of like alternative history.
Yeah, I know that is. What is that popular novel there? Where the Nazis won the war.
Oh, not the High Tower.
Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Tower. Philip Dick, right?
Yeah. Philip K. Dick. Not to be confused with Philip.
There's another Philip.
I don't know. That's why he's got to put the K in there. Do either of you guys have any experience refinishing guitars? This is a good thing to talk about. More specifically, is there ever a time that you would require an airbrush? Some touch-up can be done with an airbrush.
Some or customization, graphics.
Yeah, there's that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, every once in a while, like someone who would want to like just spray a little bit of color somewhere would use just an airbrush just to. But yeah, let's talk about refinishing in general.
Did you ever finish one?
The refinish your guitar?
Yeah.
I refinished the headstock. I never, not a whole body. Yeah. No fun, by the way.
Well, I had the opportunity with Chris, who painted acoustic guitars. He didn't do colored solid bodies as a whole, but in general. But he could do a professional finish job on a acoustic. So I picked his brain. He coached me. A Gibson grabber came in. Yeah. That was, the paint was stripped, and I forget what was on it. But I said, well, I should learn how to do this. So he coached me through it. Yeah. 12 coats of paint. Spraying, sanding spray between. On a coat. You get your paper. You sand for half an hour. So you take off almost all the paint. You do it again. You do that 12 times. And you want to get rid of all the orange peel and all that stuff. Oh, you have to fill the grain first. Grain filler. So it comes out smooth. And anyways, I kept track. I had about 50 hours into it. And it came out pretty good. Yeah. It wouldn't pass for a factory job. Yeah. But it wasn't embarrassing. Yeah. Okay. So refinishing guitars is terrible work. Oh. Yeah, it is. If especially if it's a guitar you didn't make, if you're finishing a guitar you made, at least you'd be like, well, this is I gotta make sure this gets just refinishing, and it's really hard to find people to do the work. Well, it's very toxic. Toxic, yeah. The chemicals are toxic. Yeah, just any kind of painting, can be toxic. But also, you got to do it like every day. You just got to be like the refinish guy to really to get the efficiency, to get the And there were people like we'd be like, oh yeah, this dude in Portland, or there's this guy down in Massachusetts does that. Right. Nowadays, I can't think of someone who's a refinish guy. Guitar refinishing and speaker reconing. Yeah, those are the guys that used to be around until they discovered how toxic it was, the glues and the paints and the dust, and they stopped doing it, even though they were in a controlled. Space with a mask. It still is nasty. Although speaker reconing, there is a guy who still does speaker reconing in Lee, and we use him once in a while when there's something like he's the last resort guy. It was Hugh for human speakers, and mostly build speakers, but he repairs and recones some. And like last thing I brought up to him, I think it was a Vox Bulldog, because you cannot get another Vox Bulldog. The reissue of the Vox Bulldog is not like the old Vox Bulldog. I'm talking about speaker. And I was just like, you got to rebuild this thing for me. And he's like, okay, and he did. Right. And but it took a long time, and it cost more than the speaker would have cost. So yeah, refinishing only if first of all, refinishing your instrument is kind of bad for tonally as well. Right? It certainly can be. Yeah. You change the tone of the instrument when you kind of start over from day one. Chris had a customer who for 5 years probably tried to talk him out of refinishing his old Gibson acoustic. So, it was beat, but it sounded great. But he, it doesn't shine and it's not glossy anymore and it doesn't look good. Finally, he sent it off someplace and it came back looking beautiful. And he brought it in. Well, what happened to my guitar? So I told you. Play it for 12 years. It'll probably sound good. Yeah, we're going to wake up again. Yeah, so sometimes, if it's a cosmetic thing, somebody like, oh, my guitar scratched, and I want to fix that scratch, there are people who do that work, but it never really disappears. Right. It will disappear to everyone but you. I remember dealing with a guy in Portland. He was there for a while, 7, 8, 9, 10 years maybe. I'd send people up to him, and he did great work. I remember sending a guy's Rick 330 and a picture of a Rick 330. He said, I want it to look like that. It was a standard color, but it was a sunburst or some sort. Some kind of weird Rick burst. The guy had it for a couple of months. It came back exact match. Exact, and it was perfect. By the way, and he charged him $600, which seemed like nothing because I know how
Yeah.
much work is. Okay, he's made like $7 an hour,
yeah.
$600 to paint my guitar. I could have done that for $50. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
100
can.
hours of labor. Sure.
Yeah, just you can't do it with a rent. Oh, so Mike Endicott's out there. He estimates he's refinished 100 guitars.
Yeah, Mike is a good refinisher.
Yep, and he's no longer doing it.
Yeah, like everybody else.
Right, because he decided to get out of it. Yeah, it's.
I vaguely remember Mike telling me, I forget what it was, an old arch top or something he brought in. I finally got the Gibson Sunburst right, and it was perfect.
Yeah, it's a.
The Sunburst thing is a whole other level of artistry.
So just to catch up with the room here, any chances you get any chance to get you talking about Eastman compared with Gibson? Yes, we can talk about Eastman because we have one here.
Yeah.
And so that we can do a bunch of Eastman. We can tell you what we can tell you about Eastman. We're not a dealer, but they come through.
Not a Gibson dealer either. So
yeah, but we see a lot more Gibsons than Eastmans.
Yes.
But I just want to catch up on a couple other things. Mike also said, I've had all the alternative history I can stand, which is when we were talking about that earlier. Yeah, I think, we live in the alternate reality right now, folks.
Yeah.
And then Robert from Rollinsford says, thanks for the great Lefty Martin. He bought that Lefty Martin that I myself was coveting because it was just a all around nice, the kind of like slightly thin body, great sound, feel was great on it. I was like, I deserve a Martin. After all these years, I want a Martin. And it wasn't a D28 kind of thing that you think, but like it was actually like I could use this guitar. I could play. It's gonna have a nice pickup. I could play
double
a gig
O or
on
something.
This. Yeah, it was like a
triple O.
Not quite. I can't remember because it has a strange.
No, it's one of the newer models, right?
But just an all-around nice Martin. So congratulations on that one. Sorry, my eyes itchy. I was gardening today. So, J45 versus Eastman E10 is the question. Have you seen the E10?
No.
Is it flat top?
Must be to compare to with.
So Eastman. So what I'll say about Eastman is they were the first company to figure out how to manufacture instruments in Asia and do it well. And they did that by just carefully watching and doing a lot of training at the factory, carefully watching everyone working at the factory, just getting the quality control right, getting the quality right. And they started with violins and basses and cellos.
Mandolins.
Then they stepped over to mandolin a little. It's kind of like a violin. And then they stepped over and made the first archtop guitars, and so they entered a guitar market rather than just the other, kind of. And people went nuts for them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a solid top archtop guitar. I think they first made the archtop because that's what they knew how to make. They could carve tops like crazy.
Yeah.
And so, they hadn't made a flat top until recently. We're talking about the Eastman E10. I'm guessing that's a flat top.
I don't think I've seen a flat top Eastman.
So those are pretty recent, but as far as Asian manufacturing,
the story I always tell people when they ask about Eastman's is a local jazz player who had a nice Gibson archtop from the 50s, and he'd kind of worn it out and didn't want to spend $1,000 to fix it, and so he grabbed his old Gibson and a few $1,000s and drove to New York for the day or 2 days. Went to every store in the city. This was back in the 90s when Eastman was brand new. Thinking I'll come back with a Benedetto or something like that. I got this and $3,000. That should get me a nice handmade guitar. Said I played everything, from nothing much under $1,000, but
whatever. Yeah.
And he came back with a brand new Eastman that he paid $1,600 for. He said, I played a Benedetto and it was maybe this much better. I played a bunch of Gibsons that the Eastman was better for half the price. And that's the kind of story I hear over and over from guys who have Eastman
archtops.
We'll see if they last 100 years, like Gibsons do.
So according to JJ UK, exact copy of a J45, J50. So okay, so it's just you got to know how long is it going to last. That's the other thing where like some of those and we used to be afraid of it, but now we're not. When what was that bluegrassy Martin copy? Blue Ridge.
Oh, Blue Ridge.
When those first came around, people were like, I don't know, man. How's this gonna? They're holding up okay.
Yeah.
And as well as any guitar, all guitars kind of degrade.
Yeah, well, it's still early. Any decent guitar is going to last 30, 40 years probably.
Which should be enough.
That's great. But, are there going to be 100-year-old Eastmans like that 100-year-old Gibson? Did the old Gibson sell?
No, that's over there.
I had to move. Okay.
Yeah. 100-year-old Gibson. We got the 100-year-old Gibson mandolin, which is absolutely fine.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it.
So
Brian Knights in Melbourne.
That's how we say it in New Hampshire.
I think that's how they say it in Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Yeah. Do you use a compressor on your pedal board? So this is a good thing to talk. Yeah. So Gary doesn't even have a pedal board.
I don't like pedals.
But I like talking about compression. Compression is the one ubiquitous effect that is on everything.
It's my favorite pedal.
Yeah, right. Because you're a bass player.
I don't like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one that does something. Yeah. So for bass players, it's great.
Yeah.
It evens out your sound. So sometimes, especially on a Fender bass, you get one string that screams and another that doesn't quite. And that kind of. But compression is on everything. Compression's on the sound of my voice right now. That's the only reason we're not wearing microphones is because the camera has built-in compression and is making us hearable. Compression's on your phone. Compression is on all recorded music. Everything is mastered. When they say mastered, mastering is EQ and compression. So yes, compression is your friend. The problem is a lot of people getting into compression lately. We're actually carrying some more compressors. People come and ask about them. And unless it does something severe, people can't hear it.
Right.
Because you got to be able to hear the compression to know it's even working. Because if done right, you just improve your sound without hearing an effect.
Right. That's always been probably the hardest pedal to explain to somebody who's doesn't know what a compressor does. Because you don't hear it. So I always say you can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
You hit your string and it's coming back at you a little different.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound much different, but...
So guitarists often use compressors to give them more sustain because it turns up. So what it does is it turns down the loud stuff and turns up the quieter stuff.
Compresses your signal.
Yeah. And so everything, rather than going, see like a wave going up and down, it's just, the sound wave looks more like Bart Simpson's hairdo. As someone wants to describe compression to me, okay, that makes sense. It's just little bumps rather than, up and down, up and down. So what that does, it can give guitarists more sustain. And that's like the classic compressors, the Orange Crush. What was the one that Roger McGuinn used? He was famous for using
I don't know.
certain compression pedal that they now replicate. And then the sound of so if someone says, what's the sound of a compressor? I often say it's the Boss, CS2.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the compression sustainer, and it has a sustain control, so you can get that longer, get the longer decay on the note. But I refer people to a couple of sounds. One is the sound of the guitar introduction to the Red Hot Chili Peppers Under the Bridge.
I'd have to hear the lick.
Yeah. It's just a super overcompressed guitar part. And it's that's what compression sounds like when you use too much of it. But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like your notes are getting sucked backwards through it. But then also that Reeling in the Years, Steely Dan. And the other thing I'll say about compression, I'm mad about compression because I'm a recording engineer as well. So I use compression on just about everything. Just subtle amounts of it, though. I like using subtle amounts of compression. And but what compression does is the same thing that tape heads sometimes do, and the same thing as transformers. So basically, what we call phase realignment, because they turn down the loudest thing. Whatever hits the compressor first is going to get turned down first, and that's high frequencies travel faster than low frequencies. And so they hit the compressor first and they get turned down and the low frequencies come and catch up with them. So it literally can thicken your sound by
it's a good explanation.
By slowing down the high frequency, so tapping those back and then the low ones come meet them from below. Dynacomp, yes.
Dynacomp, thank you.
That was the
MXR.
one. Yeah. The MXR Dynacomp is a great sound and you can hear it But unlike the Boss one, it's not annoying. The Boss one, when overused, it's like, oh.
Well, if anybody still listens to Santana, he was always the textbook compressor guy.
Yeah.
He had Boogie just put compressors in his amp. So
Yeah.
he was on all the time. You can hear it in his playing.
There was a time when compressor was built into bass amps quite often, too. Yeah.
They still are, I presume.
Yeah,
Frequently, they don't even have a knob.
Yeah, they call it something. They call it contour, or I don't know what. But there's so bass for compression. Yes, yes for guitar as well. The other great thing a compressor can do is you can just use it as a dynamic change. That's why Ned Chase always had a compressor on his board, and he hit it for solos rather than hitting a distortion pedal. He didn't want to change the amount of distortion he had. He'd hit it. He'd set it to turn it because that's what we call makeup gain, which is it does turn things down, and then you got to kind of turn it back up, so that the volume control on that's actually after the compression effect. And so you hit that makeup gain a little bit, and get the thing just to turn up a little bit, get those notes thickened up, and it's a great soloing thing.
That's what my friend John used to do when I was in a band with him. This Strat and his twin turned on about 5 because that's how loud.
That was the 80s. That was,
and he had set his gain on his compressor, like at 2 o'clock, and it would be off while he's chording. But guitar solo got louder, kicked the amp into a titch of overdrive, and added sustain. Sounded great. Done. Back to chording. Simple.
And then, in mixing and especially in mastering, but in mixing, I'm just constantly using compression to get dynamics to work together, and there's a lot of things compression does. I guess I'm getting a little too excited about compression, but I mean, the phase realignment thing, that kind of compression does like a time alignment thing, because it kind of delays the attack a little bit, because the initial attack gets tamped down, and then the later, because if you remember what the MXR makes what they call the studio compressor, which is actually like a DBX kind of compressor, but built right into the pedal, and it shows you the amount of gain reduction.
Right.
So it goes up, snatches it knocks down your high note, your peak,
right,
and then so it kind of changes that attack to later.
Could you compare that to the natural sound of a good tube amp that's pushed up to gain?
Tube amps compress.
Yeah, the tubes do compress.
They do because you get the push-pull pairs often.
Right.
But even so, what they do, because you get the those big old transformers, and transformers, like I said, do a thing like compression where they smooth off your. So what we call sag in tube amps is actually sometimes because the rectifier runs off the same same transformer, runs off the same juice as the other, that the rectifier will kind of get engaged and cause the other tubes just to kind of come down. We're talking about milliamps here,
Right.
But a compression-like effect, and people say tubes. It's like I said, tape compresses, tubes compress. Everything that sounds good is compressed.
Would you say a tube amp compresses more the more you turn it up?
Yeah, or your ears compress because our actually our ears will fill with fluid and to protect ourselves, and that's compression,
right?
Because it knocks down the loud stuff.
All kinds of compression.
Yeah, depends on the nature of the amp, but definitely, And the other thing I was going to say about that is I had an experience. I did. I sat in. You call this sitting in on sound? Yes, I know. I went to do sound at a place that I don't usually do sound. As a favor to the artists who were playing there, that didn't have a sound engineer for the night.
There was a house PA.
The house PA was there, and it was one of those Midas things that's all on the iPad, which I hate. Talk about
You like sliders, right?
I like the real sliders in the room because I like to be able to grab something right away and do, because those things you got back menu.
When I turn the monitors down.
And then so yeah. But what I did realize, listening to things and working with it, is when there's not that channel strip of all those transformers and capacitors and resistors, because capacitors compress too, because that's what they do. They save up energy and smooth it out.
Right.
Without all that great stuff in the way, the sound is almost too good. It's too natural.
Right.
So I was like, using more compression than I would in that situation, or I was just kind of EQing things differently because I was like, everything's so hyper natural. It sounds like my head's inside a guitar, and I didn't want to sound. I want it to sound like a guitar being strummed, and yet it just sounded like my head was like inside a guitar.
It was too perfect.
All right, that's my compressing rant, and that took 10 minutes, so that was good. Not a compressor user generally, but I have a Dynacomp if I need one. Okay, well that's a.
What was this question? Do you have a compressor?
In your pedal board, yeah. And so,
because we frequently get the question, where do I put my compressor in the pedal board?
Yeah.
First, last, in the middle?
What do you say?
I usually say first.
Yeah.
I think it's good to send a compressed signal into everything else if you're going to compress it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got your distortion coming out, and boom, it gets compressed.
Yeah, although I was thinking like what Ned does is using that as the boost, like a little bit of compression,
Right.
and then use the compressor. So sometimes you go in the middle. At the end, maybe if you got to glue it all together.
Yeah, but it's whatever. It's personal.
But so this is my personal signal chain on everything. This is what I usually use in the studio too. EQ, then compression, then everything else.
Oh, do many people have EQs on their pedal board?
Not many, but if you have an EQ, put that before the compression because you don't want signals that you're going to take out later to trigger the compressor.
Right.
So if you're going to do a high pass or a low pass or something, just do that ahead of time.
Makes sense.
Then hit the compressor. So yeah, it's a tough thing to love, the compressor. You just gotta, and then if you're going to choose, like I have a small-ish board. I have one of my pedals is a wah pedal. That takes up a lot of real estate.
Right.
So that's like 4 pedals right there. But I gotta have it. And I gotta have the full size one. It's gotta be the Morley for me.
Oh, that's right. You're a Morley guy.
I'm a Morley guy from way back.
Not many of you, but
I keep a Dunlop around at the studio. The Dunlop does one thing the Morley doesn't that you need sometimes. And I affectionately call this the Spider-Man sound.
Spider-Man sound.
Because you remember the Spider-Man show in the 70s?
No.
There was a TV show that was Spider-Man. It lasted a very little amount of time, but they kept repeating it on UHF on channel 56 and all that. And whenever he was climbing a wall, there was just the sound of a whoop and a wow, 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 wow. You call it The Price is Right. Was it The Price is Right that has that wow, wow, wow?
There's some detective
wow,
show that had that too.
Yep. So just that sound is only the Dunlop can truly do that.
Right.
But other than that, I'm a Morley guy. If anyone out there wants to talk about wahs, chime in with your favorite wah-wah pedal.
It's not too many choices.
No, not too many, but it's interesting. Like some people go for the Vox. Some people, do you like the Morley? Do you hate it?
Clyde McCoy or not Clyde McCoy?
Yeah, after I had the McCoy pedal for a little while. Sold it because they sell for lots of money.
Right.
Let's see here. Let's catch up with the room. Oh, I guess the room is caught up with. So unless I'm having connection problems here, we bored people into submission. All right, compressor talk is over, folks. I promise I won't talk about compressors anymore.
I won't tell my bad compressor stories.
Oh, okay. Unless they're funny. If you get a funny
No, they're
story.
not funny. They're depressing to me. But
yeah, compression is something if you misuse it. Oh, I promise to stop talking about compression. But if you misuse it, you can screw things up.
Yeah. It was always in a studio.
Yep.
Somebody just say that.
Yeah.
And you know what studio I mean.
I know what studio.
The one that had 8 compressors.
Yeah. And 8 really not so good compressors.
Right.
Never used wah, but I have the ubiquitous Crybaby. Yeah. So I use the wah the best use of wah, I think, is a couple of them. And one is Mark Knopfler, Money for Nothing guitar riff. Just using to scoop out the sound, as an EQ. So what I'll sometimes do is I'll be playing a solo and I just want to get out there a little bit.
Right.
And I'll just step on the wah and I'll go, and I'll just take it up 3, don't nail it, just take it up a little over, so it's boosting.
Right.
And then then just work it back and forth just a little bit. And that just gets, and then once in a while I just get frustrated and go, wow, Prince kind of wah too.
I always thought it was, it's like learning another instrument. You don't just, you see people all the time, they plug their guitar.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This is. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Do something with it.
Yeah.
Make
Right.
it
Yeah.
sing.
Use it for the. Yeah.
Play a melody with it or something.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's not easy to get, and I think that's why there aren't that many really good wah guys who used it. Hendrix did wonders with
Hendrix, because he did wonders with everything.
Right.
You could just give him a pile of crap and he'd make art with it.
Probably.
Joe Walsh, James Gang, Walk
Yeah.
Away. Was that through a wall?
I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to the
But
James
Life in the
Gang.
Fast Lane, was there a wall in that?
Maybe.
He did the vocoder thing for a while too. I guess that's a whole other.
No, don't talk about that.
No.
Makes my
Poke
teeth
Salad Annie, Wah Masterclass, according to Mike. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is.
who was the guitarist?
Yeah.
Book Salad Annie.
Tony Joe White was the
Yeah.
the artist. Yeah.
Nashville.
But yeah, that is like a way to get in, like Curtis Mayfield.
Hmm.
How can you not like the wah after listening to some Curtis Mayfield from the 70s?
Right.
That guy knew how to work his way around a wah. Now I'll tell you why I use the Morley. Because, and this happened to me like maybe enough times that it bothered me. So to turn on the Dunlop, you have to go all the way up.
Yeah.
Go click, and then go back as fast as you can because you're at full treble.
Right.
So click, and that just kind of. The Morley had a switch on the side.
Right.
Yeah, that was a little easier to deal with.
Or they have the bad horsey where as soon as you touch it, it starts.
That's what I have now. I don't know if they call it the bad horsey anymore, but you touch it, it turns on. You take your foot off, it turns off.
It's got an automatic transmission.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom, here we go.
The theme from Shaft.
No.
Yeah. That's some advanced masterclass wah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan was no slouch.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking about building a pedal that would be a wah with just a pot, so I could use as a filter. It's been done, so you can get those. That's called the cocked wah. They're out there. So
it's
just the pot, and you just put it where you want the booster cut.
There's no pedal or
Yeah.
anything. Oh, yeah.
So if you want that kind of like that Mark Knopfler thing and the money for nothing, that really the wah is pretty crucial in that. It's on and dialed back.
Right.
And got that dark sound and.
I think they're 1 meg pots. I think in a Crybaby.
We got a couple around here. I think yeah.
I know some companies experimented with different values for different tones, but I think the traditional is a meg. So yeah, if you got a meg pot,
Yeah.
with the right tone cap, I presume.
Yep, that could be a
Do
thing.
something.
All right. So we're caught up with the room. What else we got to talk about?
I don't know.
We were looking at books earlier.
Yeah. I'm still in the process of understanding how pickups work.
In order to
Somebody brought in a Kelly, some kind of a Jaguar, new Jaguar with 2 humbuckers. And he'd gotten these handmade pickups, turned out to be 20 years old from a company I never heard of. He wanted me to put them in. So before I did anything, I got my ohm meter out and I said, well, do you know what the wiring is? He said, yeah, the guy told me it's the same as Seymour Duncan. Okay. They wired the colors, had the right color wires. So one pickup didn't work at all. The other pickup seemed to work. I said, well, if the color code's right, this pickup's no good. So well, just put the other one in and we'll figure it out. So I put the other one in, put a string on. It's in phase with the other pickup, but it sounds like it's out of phase with itself, which after research is one of the 5 possibilities of wiring 4 conductors together is you get thin, weak output, which is wrong. But it was wired to Duncan. So I did some research and started reading about it and trying to understand north-south polarity, clockwise, counterclockwise winding, how it all works. I'm thinking, is this pickup out of phase with itself somehow? Because that's what it sounded like. And then after reading, I said, okay, I took it apart and tried putting different code combinations until I got it. I put it in, sounded great. but I ended up with the color code being unlike anybody else's. So I think somebody put the wrong colored wires on the leads.
Entirely possible that too. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all
it
I
could
can
be,
think.
Yeah,
So then I tried that on the pickup that we thought was dead, and it worked.
No.
Okay, we're all good. So then I put them both in and got a string on there. They both work fine, and they're out of phase with each other. Okay, well, that's easy to fix. So I switched the hot and the ground on the one I just put in, and everything was fine.
Mm.
And I think, well, why?
Yeah.
Okay, I know I fixed it, but why did that happen and this happen? And it went through this whole convoluted thing of, okay, this works, and put it in. It reads right. The resistance is good. Tap, tap, tap. And it sounds terrible. So I'm bringing it up almost more as just as something to talk about.
Yeah.
I know Mike has wound pickups, and he probably knows
Mike's
some of
out
these
there.
answers. But if anybody else has run across this or knows the physics of polarities and in and out of phase and how winding it one way and the other way and with the magnets.
Well, I mean, actually, yeah, it was great. Earlier you said, because you said something about that, and you were like, what would you say? It's not possible. But anyways, the answer was it is the laws of physics.
Oh,
it's
yes.
like, what was
Yeah,
you're like,
just
yeah. This is not. What would you say? It was kind of funny.
Oh, well, I don't understand physics, but logic. I said it.
Yeah, this is not logical.
It's not logical.
It's like, yes, it's absolutely
Unless you
logical.
use physics.
All it
to
is.
explain
Yeah.
it. But I don't know physics. Sorry.
So what I can add about pickups is this. Because of my experience in microphones
same
and
thing.
windings, and that's the as a matter of fact, in the microphone pickup world, we have something they call a humbucker, and they don't even know why they call it. The two coils reversed.
Right.
But if you're not a guitarist, and so I remember someone explaining this is what we call a humbucker, and I was like, yes, Boris, I know it's it's a humbucker,
Right. We know that word.
But here's the X factors here in the pickup world that people don't actually. Scott's tapping into this a little. Scott at Stonewall, because he's on the fringe.
Yeah.
We measure the windings, the capacitance of the windings in henries in the microphones.
Oh.
And the same number of windings, or depending on the size of your wire and all that, can give you just like a bigger capacitance, to the transformer, which gives you better. So the ideal thing in the auto transformer is to have the flattest possible line. So to go from hearable 30 all the way up to 14, 16, and have a nice flat line. It's impossible with transformers because all transformers dive off at 30. They just
30 henries?
No, 30 hertz. I'm talking about hertz, yeah. And I can't give you an idea of what a good Henry rating on a pickup is, but if you measure the same pickup with the same impedance in henries, which we can't measure on our multimeters, we have to get a different meter.
Can you define henries?
Well, you can Google it.
I did. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't go to electrical school.
Yeah.
There was a Gibson guitar, semi-hollow body. I forget which one it was. I took apart 10 years ago. And it had, I think they called it a field coil. Big silver box inside, screwed onto it, and took it out and looked it up. And they started talking about henries. Okay, what's a henry?
Yeah.
Looked that up. It's a formula that I don't understand and don't know enough math to figure out. So I put it back in and I think it worked.
Field coil is something quite different as well. It's basically how you put the charge on your magnet.
Oh.
The field coil uses an external electrical charge.
Well, maybe it wasn't a field.
It could have been, yeah.
No.
I know that from field coil speakers.
Oh, that's that thing, yeah.
Yeah, so when they have the extra transformer.
Yeah, I guess it was one of those, right?
Yeah, it's like that. The coils in a humbucker are reverse wound.
Yeah.
This is Mike, yeah. That puts them out of phase. The north-south magnet polarity puts them back in phase.
Right.
Okay.
Got that far.
Yeah. No, that's important information.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're reverse wound and they're reverse polarity.
So reverse
So
wound
if
and
the counterclockwise is north and the clockwise is south. So it seems like they'd be totally out of phase, but they're actually in phase. And something about sine waves and where they cross is where they cancel out the hum, but they still let the signal through, which it's getting to be voodoo.
Well, here is that becomes a little bit of voodoo. So waves cross. When waves cross, they create nodes, and that's where they phase cancel.
Yeah.
When nodes meet that are identical, they cancel each other out.
Right.
And
but why just the hum?
Because the hum's the only thing they absolutely share.
Oh,
because everything else is just slightly different because they're next to each other, and there's just there's the windings, and but the hum is hum, and so that's the only thing they absolutely share. Although they phase cancel out some other stuff while they're canceling out the hum.
Humbuckers lose high end, yes.
Because high end frequencies are shorter and they're more likely to cross each other. So maybe we should have Mike on as a. We got to figure out a way to get Mike to come on as a guest and just have his
Just need another iPad. We'll put it on a stool
on a stand right here, and we have to. We'll have to make things a little more complicated. But let's work on that in the future because he'd be a good guest on some of this technical stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, Mike. Are you ever going to visit? Or are you never coming back? So many people.
Well, yeah, America's just gotten weirder. So. There's that.
We have a good friend who swore to me about 2 months ago, if Roe versus Wade gets eliminated, we're leaving. I'm not letting my daughters grow up in this country. I have a job in New Zealand. We're gone.
Now, let me tell you. Hold on, what was I going to say? People are constantly promising they'll leave America and they don't.
Right.
I'm one of them. I've left America so many times. I don't even know. I got passports. I got a passport that they had to stitch an extra 25 pages into. They actually do that. They literally stitch it into they just open up the passport and they stitched in. They have a machine. They have a sewing machine.
Okay, keep going.
Put more pages in your passport. But somehow I keep coming back. All right. Any other topics, audience? We still got time left. Let me think.
It's audience time. We made up 3/4 of an hour.
Visit sometime next year. Might be in the works. So that'd be cool.
Cool.
Let me just have a look around the room to see if there's something we should talk about. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Talked about Eastman a little bit today.
You got those new Squier paranormal.
I got some really cool
Kelly with soap bar pickups. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is something.
In seafoam green, maybe?
One seafoam green. The other is Sunburst. The paranormal Squier
baritone.
So paranormal is when they do mashups of their classic designs. It says Fender on the back of the headstock, not the front.
No, it says
Squier by Fender. That was always kind of. So that means that just signifies it's made in Asia.
Squiers are okay now.
Squiers are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And this is a baritone with these cool looking soap bar pickups.
B2B.
Yep, B2B. And what else can I say about it? It's actually pretty cool. We plugged it in.
You know what I like about it?
What's that? No tremolo?
It's really simple.
Yeah.
Oh, this is easy.
Yeah. There's an elegance to simplicity.
Easy to play, easy to fix, easy to run.
And if you're kind of bored with your playing, then it's a good way to get out of a rut sometimes. Just play everything in a different key.
What was Larrivee or Breedlove?
He had a baritone
acoustic. I remember a guy sitting on the couch over there for like an hour singing Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Only one over. So obviously you love this guitar. This is awesome. I've never been able to sing Beatles songs in the right key.
Yeah.
But move it down a fourth, I can sing them all.
So what else am I going to say about this? Yes. So what Squier doing great. The paint jobs are great. The neck finish on this is better than any Squier. This is like, This is made in Mexico quality
Mhm.
essentially. So, and the price has gone up on them. Price has gone up on. We got the 40th anniversary Squiers coming in.
Still
soon,
$449 for that.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of guitar for that money. That's for
not
sure.
a lot.
This is something you could have for the rest of your life because it's a Fender, and they seem to last
Mhm.
lifetimes. People kind of forget about that. Fenders,
Silvertones from the 50s seem to be lasting lifetimes too.
Speaking of Silvertones from the 50s,
Oh, yeah, the Dano bass.
We
just
got one.
came in.
here's a Dano bass. Sorry to you folks that had to hold these upside down.
I can hold it
Yeah, you play bass.
right side up.
This is same bass that Mike played for years.
Yeah.
Not literally the same. We know where that one is, but
Rob told me he thought it was a 1960.
this one, 59. Judging by the knobs, those early knobs.
Are original, but I told him we could take
Yeah,
a
we
look
could
at the pop codes.
check out the pop codes. But it's an early one. Since I think 59 is the first year they made it or something, or
Maybe.
maybe 57. Maybe the first electric bass that Dan Electro made. I do have the book.
I always remember I had one of the this one with the other headstock.
Yeah,
that's the Dolphin
the Coke
headstock.
bottle. Yeah,
the Coke bottle headstock.
Right.
And had it at home. Finally decided to take it to a gig one day.
Yeah.
And
you've told it. Go ahead.
Did I tell it here before?
Probably, but tell it anyways.
Well, it's a Dan Electro bass. I have to tell it. I have to edit out one word, but so yeah, I did the first set with my jazz bass. It was great. Second set, I'm playing the Dano, so I pick it up. I plug it in. Maybe halfway through the song, Mark, the drummer, stabs me in the back with his drumstick and says, "Put that thing away." What? It sounds like. Don't stab me anymore. Well, put it away. Okay. He wouldn't let me play it.
I was going to say about this as well. Yeah, they're great. Short scale, 30-ish inches, 30 shorter or something.
Oh, that looks like maybe longer, but
no, I think
it's long scale.
No, this is short scale, definitely. Yeah.
Well, Rob and I were thinking of the great Dan Electro bass players.
And so someone just mentioned the room. It looks like the one that Joey used in NRPQ. Yes,
Joey
it is.
Stampinato.
Yeah.
He played it with a pick.
Yeah.
Rob said he felt sacrilegious because he liked it with flats, and most people don't. But I've never heard that before. I knew people played it with flats.
Speaking of sacrilegious, I have flats on my Dan Electro.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to sound as upright as possible.
Right.
Because it's my, if I want to sound upright but carry an electric bass, that'd be the one I bring. Because it's.
I always thought of it as, and I think other people did, as the perfect studio bass.
Yeah.
Because it just had a nice, tight, not too bassy, not too trebly, right down the middle sound. You can EQ it any way you want.
Well, the 6-string Dan Electro bass is what they used to call the tic-tac bass. Yeah.
Right.
And they use it to double guitar parts, famously. And so essentially the same thing, a shorter scale length, and you played with a pick.
Right. Actually, it was Mike that told me. He did the research on one of these. Masonite sides, Ponderosa pine, top and back.
Well, so Mike just chimed in. 59 had the round access panel on the back. I remember that was the early ones had the round.
Oh, this one was rectangular.
The metal one came later with a 32-inch scale. Yeah, I guess it could be 32.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing. Medium scale.
Yeah.
So this is could be a 60.
Do you ever get G&L guitars in? What are your thoughts compared to Fender? That's a good question.
I
have
when
thoughts.
they first came out, I thought they were great.
Yeah.
The ASAT tellies in particular.
Yep, still are.
I had a L1000 bass, their sort of P bass that was great.
Yeah.
And then they went to some Asian production and they weren't so great.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
They
Every
do.
once in a while, we still see an American G&L.
Yeah. They make American G&Ls. They're still reasonable for what they are. They're essentially made in Leo Fender's last factory. His office is still in the factory.
Yeah.
All the tables or stuff were what George and Leo made, and all the workbenches and all that stuff, and the some of it came from Fender when Leo left Fender, and all over the years. So they got some serious heritage there.
Right.
It was Leo's revision, his final revision of his designs. He supposedly fixed something. I'd like to describe G&Ls like this: they are the Subaru of guitars.
Okay.
Follow me here.
They're good in the snow.
They're good in the snow. No, people who drive Subarus insist on Subarus. They love their Subaru. It just touches you in a certain place. So people who love G&Ls just love their G&L. But it takes a certain leap to become the Subaru owner. If you're going to get out of your BMW or your fancy car and just get essentially, a mom wagon of a Subaru, you gotta just kind of, it takes a leap of faith, I guess, to kind of make it into that, that other world. And then when you're in that other world, you're like, this thing's great in the snow. It's really practical. It's it works great. It seldom needs work. All those things that G&L owners love about their G&Ls. It's just kind of like Subaru owners are about their Subarus.
Okay.
My friend Jonathan bought a Toyota, really nice Toyota, and then in a year sold it and bought another Subaru. He just loved the Subarus. So that's what I say about the G&L guitars. They are, the people who love them, just like Subarus. Everyone respects them somewhat. There aren't any bad G&Ls anywhere. I don't think any are actually bad. No, they're all some kind of okay.
Yeah.
Even the made in Indonesia ones that are $300 is a great $300 used. It's a great $300 deal.
Well, they have the same problems other $300 guitars have. I'll put it that way.
You can buy a 1980s one for maybe 600-ish still. That's dinged up. It's going to be a great made in America Fender style guitar. Not quite a Fender. Different, just it is distinctly different, but that is the word on. Sorry, I'm refreshing the tablet here.
Nope.
Whoops. So that's my
refreshing.
word on, yeah. Okay. Anything special about the G&L Comanche pickups, other than their appearance? Are those the ones with the double eyelet looking?
I'm trying to remember if there's anything other than the pole piece arrangement. I don't remember.
They were staggered. So the string went between two poles. Is that the one?
They're offset.
Yeah,
sort of. They also had a big collar on them or something. We don't see many G&Ls. There hasn't been a real G&L dealer around here.
No, I thought about selling them, but now we got Fenders, and so I can't say.
So we don't see it, but I remember. Oh, that's right. They are like P-bass pickups for guitar. Yeah. Okay. So they're humbuckers probably that look like a broken single coil, because P-bass pickups are humbuckers when you add it all together. I don't know that there's anything radically different other than that.
I mean, the different sound of the guitar is going to calculate more into it than the pickups in that respect. Because G&Ls, being an 80s guitar, tend to be a little heavier than the classic Fenders, materials-wise.
Yeah.
Still a lot of maple involved.
Although
heavier.
And the original ASATs were lighter.
But not particularly light, not light like a gray old
I
Tully.
don't know if they were using alder then. They might have already switched to basswood or something. It's a little heavier. But I don't think there were any 6-pound G&Ls.
No. All right. G&L's covered. We have 5 minutes left, folks. Any other questions, or we'll just leave? Anyone have anything they want to talk about? Do we have anything to talk about? Anything else we got? So sorry I wasn't here last week. I was out of town and couldn't make it back on time. And then next week we'll be here. And then the week after that, Gary will be back here. And then the week after that, I already know who the host guest is. It's going to be Kurt Bassett.
Oh, you got Kurt to do it.
Yeah, Kurt's going to do one.
Guitar teacher
guitar teacher,
for
folk
many
troubadour,
years.
songwriter, singer, just the great guy. So
I wish
We'll
I'd
get
kept
him
his
on the-
business card from the 80s. Kurt Bassett, folk singer, songwriter. I'll play anything, anywhere, except I do not play Amy.
yeah.
Okay, I like this guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. So one last check with the room. So here's the omnipresent, or actually, I didn't do this halfway through, but the reminder of you have to subscribe and like and all that stuff. If you like it while you're watching the live, it really helps the live thing get livelier. How far to the nearest sports bar? There's one in sight of here if you want to go over and have a drink. Oh, that's JJ UK, so he won't be able to. So once again, thanks everyone for hanging out. We'll see you next week,
Yes.
and prepare, get ready for the end.
Oh, this is the end. My only friend.
Press the end button. Say goodnight, Gary.
Good night, everybody.